Hey everybody, Damon D here, and what I'm going to do today is review the top 20 best grunge albums of all time. Let's do it! And this is going to be 11 through 20. Stay tuned for the next video, which is the top 10. So the only rule here is that no band can appear on the list more than 2 times. Okay, so at number 20 we have Babes in Toyland from 1992. Now, the reason this is on here is because this is a really good representation of kind of that really rough sounding grunge style and aggressive vocals. And, you know, just listen to the first track, Bruised Violet. You get a really good sense of what Kat Bjelland was trying to do here, which is really aggressive, in your face, kind of Riot Girl aesthetic. You know, it really represents kind of this early 90s grunge scene 100%. There's no way around that. And when we listen to the album, there's really some parallels with probably early Hole or even Nirvana. Definitely like Bleach era Nirvana, so you really get this kind of rougher edged sound compared to some of the other albums you'll see further on that are maybe a little more polished. But yes, number 20, Babes in Toyland. Okay, so at number 19, we have a compilation, which is the only one on the list. If you're looking for where a lot of the grunge sound came from, the genesis of it, this is probably a good compilation to check out, which is Soundgarden, Malfunction, which is Andy Wood of Mother Love Bone. You have the Melvins, you have the U-Men, and you have Skinyard, which Jack Endino played guitar, who produced a lot of the bands in Seattle and the grunge scene in the late 80s to early 90s. So this might be the album that you check out if you really want to see where everything kind of started, the genesis of it. Okay, so at number 18, we have Mad Seasons Above. So this is somewhat of a grunge Seattle supergroup with Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, and Barrett Martin from Screaming Trees. And what's really cool about this album is you get some really heavy guitar riffs and songs like Lifeless Dead, but then you also get a really cool acoustic jam with actually with a saxophone solo and Barrett Martin's really interesting percussion on it called Long Gone Days, which is really cool. Number 18, Mad Seasons Above. Okay, at number 17, we have Green River, Dry as a Bone. So this release has 5 tracks on it, a little under 20 minutes. So this is from 1987. So you're going to get that kind of pre-grunge, kind of post-hardcore, maybe post-punk mixed in with some 70s rock. And this band is, again, another Seattle supergroup. Look at this with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam, Stone Gossard, Mark Arm from Mudhoney. So again, it's a lot of cross-pollination happening. Okay, so number 16, we have L7 with Bricks Are Heavy. Now, this is a really great release here. And I actually saw L7 in the early 90s, and Danita Sparks and crew could really rock for sure. That's without question. The first track, Wargasm, just 2.5 minutes, solid, hardcore, right in your face. Pretend We're Dead, that's probably their biggest hit, actually. You know, that's a pretty solid rock song. Obviously, you can tell that, you know, the producer, Butch Vig, probably dialed back some of the rough edges. Got you a little bit more in the accessible pop range, if you want to call it that, or the rock range. And then Slide is another good one here. So this is 11 tracks, a little bit under 40 minutes. And it actually holds up pretty well if you are into the kind of early 90s grunge scene. This is one to check out. Okay, so number 15, we have Smashing Pumpkins with Gish, which is their first full-length release. I believe this was 1990. And you know, when you listen to this, you could just tell that this was a band that was going to go somewhere and be something. You know, you're just blown away by the musicality on it and the energy, you know, the drums. Jimmy Chamberlain's off the charts. Obviously, Billy Corgan, everybody knows what he can do, and James Iha and Darcy Retzky here. So really solid release here. Very few weak tracks, honestly. So you're kind of getting this heavy distortion rock, grungy alternative. They're probably on the line of grunge and alternative, but then you also get some acoustic work in there too, and you get the build up from the quiet section into exploding, you know, guitar and drums, which they kind of were famous for. So number 15, Smashing Pumpkins, Gish. Okay, so number 14, we have Stone Temple Pilots, Core, which I believe was from 1992. And one of the things about this release is it kind of just blew the doors off of everything. Like, this band pretty much came out of nowhere is how I look at it. And people say, well, you know, they kind of were copying Nirvana or Pearl Jam or whatever, well, whatever you want to say, this thing blew the doors off. And there's some really good songs on there. And it kind of has a, maybe a more mainstream feel to it, but you can't deny the guitar, the riffs, the drums. Scott Weiland is really great frontman, honestly, by any measure. So while I know there's some STP haters out there, this one's so influential, I had to put it in. Okay, so number 13, we have the Melvins with Stoner Witch. Now, I know a lot of people might think that Houdini should be on the list, but I think Stoner Witch is actually a much better album, so I'm putting it in. And, the thing about the Melvins is you know what you're going to get here. You're going to get really, Dale Crover is going to be blasting the drums, Buzz Osborne with his almost bordering on nonsensical lyrics, which are really funny and amazing. And I think the thing about this release is that you kind of get a mix of that kind of Melvins weirdness, but you also get some really straight ahead rock songs, Sweet Willie Roll Bar, Queen, stuff like that. And the thing about the Melvins is you're going to get a lot of weirdness and feedback. And a lot of times people are like, what the hell are they doing? That's part of it. But I think this one kind of puts it all together because you have that, but you also have some really cool straight ahead rock songs that are really great. Okay, so number 12, we have Screaming Trees, Sweet Oblivion. So what makes this stand out is that Screaming Trees are probably a little more garage rock, maybe 70s rock. So their big hit, obviously, is Nearly Lost You, which was huge. I think that was 1992. That was a massive hit for them. Dollar Bill, that's a really great track. I think one of the things that makes them so unique is Mark Lanegan's voice. Nobody had a voice, that kind of deep, husky, cigarette smoked influenced voice. There just wasn't anything like that on the scene anywhere that I've heard either, probably since then, honestly. So it was really unique with, the Connor brothers and their kind of rhythmic sensibilities and, kind of 70s influences, along with his singing. And then again, Barrett Martin laying it down, from a percussion and drum perspective. So really solid release. Okay, so number 11, we have Temple of the Dog, which is the supergroup of supergroups with Chris Cornell, Matt Cameron from Soundgarden, Vedder, Gossard, this Jeff Ament. So this is, everybody knows what this is. Most people have heard the music. What makes it so good, I think, is the emotion of the vocals and some of the lyrics too, which are, about Andrew Wood, who was in Mother Love Bone, who passed away. So that's in there. And then, the songs are pretty solid, pretty good. And a fun fact on this one is this was put out about 4 months before Pearl Jam's 10 album, which is their debut, which kind of rocket ship to the moon. So imagine that. Eddie Vedder, this guy sings on this, and people are, oh, who is this guy? What's happening here? And then boom, 4 months later, rocket ship that is Pearl Jam. Phew, all the way to the top. Pretty amazing stuff, really, as far as timing goes. And two of the most popular tracks, of course, are Hunger Strike and then Say Hello to Heaven. So with those two, most people are familiar with that, and those are really great tracks. So that was 11 through 20 of the top 20 grunge albums of all time. Stay tuned for the next video, which is 1 to 10. The top 10's coming up. Stay tuned for that. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate everybody watching and liking and comments and interacting. It's really amazing. I really appreciate it. So this has been Damon D. One World, One Rock.